Hey folks, I'm Mike Moran, supervising naturalist for the Big Break Visitor Center at the Delta for East Bay Regional Park District. We are located in beautiful Oakley, California on the shores of the San Joaquin River. East Bay Regional Parks were a special district serving Alameda and Contra Costa County with 73 parks and 124,000 acres. Thanks so much for joining us here at the 2020 Delta Heritage Forum, and special thanks to the Delta Protection Commission for supporting all these great efforts. Hey, while interpreting the story of Big Break and the Delta, we came upon more than a few little mysteries. Luckily, with so much information available and at hand, internet, agencies, official documents, books, libraries, you name it, we were able to answer quite a few of those mysteries. Two of them, however, were really tough to crack. And our traditional sources didn't really provide the answers that we were looking for. So we turned it over to the tireless curiosity of some local folks and some local museums and local historical societies, these story holders and storytellers. Now, we count on these people and the under the radar institutions to inform not just our history, but our decision making. So understanding what's there, why it's there, and its significance provokes an understanding of our past and that connection to the present, as well as our stewardship on into the future.
Mystery number one. There's a lot of big break out here. When did the big break actually break? Mystery number two. What is the story behind this barge right behind me?
So those are two of our mysteries, and these are the folks that help us crack them. East Contra Costa County Historical Society, Antioch Historical Museum, Pittsburgh Historical Society, the Dutra Museum of Dredging up in Rio Vista, and Carol Jensen, a local historian here who's worked very extensively with the historical societies, local historical societies. And we have one of our docents, Steve Imulik, help us as well. We have a lot of these little institutions and agencies. I call them little because they really are run on a shoestring budget, but they put out an amazing amount of work, probably a lot of parallels in your communities as well. So when did this happen? The big mystery. We know that this is called Big Break. This is mystery number one, because there's a big break in the levee that separated the San Joaquin River from some very fertile asparagus fields. So we know why it's called Big Break. We didn't know when the break broke. And we had sources telling us 1927 and 1928. So Carol Jensen, that local historian I spoke of, she challenged herself that she would find not only the date, but the circumstances surrounding the event that really changed the Delta and Oakley and ultimately East Bay Regional Park District. And she was recently joined by Steve Imulik, one of our very proud docents here at Big Break. And after some pretty serious investigative sleuthing, Steve found the following excerpt in the County News section of the June 5th, 1928 edition of the Pittsburgh Post-Dispatch. A little blurry there, so I'll read it for you. June 2, several thousand acres of river bottomland extending from the Antioch Bridge easterly along the San Joaquin River and Dutch Slough to Iron House Slough, where Marsh Creek joins the main river, are inundated and all crops are probably ruined as a result of a break in the river levees on the property of Mrs. Wright. Thankfully, no one was reported hurt. The big break was never repaired. But what happened on a June day that caused the levee to break? Now, Carol found the answer in the UC Santa Cruz Library in the stacks, the Porter Cessnon family history. Now, the Porter Cessnons were the next door neighbors to Mrs. Wright. And in this family history, they tell that Mrs. Wright was in a financial pinch in the late 1920s, unable to pay for levee maintenance. And even though neighbors had chipped in to periodically help, the levee ultimately broke. mystery solved. Mystery number 2. Oh my goodness, our Shoreline beacon. Big Break is dotted with old scuttled and sunken vessels, including the Shoreline's once iconic, once tall standing A-frame dredge. It guided kayakers to shore. It leads strolling guests out to the waterfront, posed patiently for endless photos. Now, all the scuttle relics out there must have some really fascinating histories. What was the news of the day when they were built and launched? Who commissioned them? Who sailed them? Although this A-frame really commanded the most curiosity, beyond a few anecdotes, we simply didn't know its story at all. That tale, like a lot of things that happened out here at Big Break, came to light through a most improbable chain of events. Now, during a 2013 kayak training, staff heard 2 loud cracks, pop, pop, and 2 of the 4 diagonal supports of the A-frame had broken and the structure now tilted. Now, it stayed steady through the winter time until February 27th, 2014, when over it went, coming to rest on its dilapidated deck. How do we find out about this? We are doing a bird walk, looking around going, gee, something looks a little bit different around here. Yeah, maybe a little bit different. Well, we forwarded the news to the Dutra Museum of Dredging in Rio Vista. And in 2017, right before a staff field trip over there, the museum director, Janet Bennett, sent an excerpt from an oral history of Ed Dutra. He's the longtime president of the family dredging business, and a photo from the book, The Tule Breakers, the story of the California dredge. Here's that excerpt from the oral history, and here is the picture. So let me read Mr. Dutra's entry regarding this. This is state dredge number 2, authorized in 1878 by the San Francisco Harbor Commissioners. By 1928 and 29, she was owned by the American Dredging Company, renamed the Alcatraz. Captain Peavy was the captain, who I was fortunate enough to work under in 1932. Her hull was sold to H.F. Lauritsen during World War II. Her hull was sunk in back of Oakley, in back of H.F. Lauritsen's yard, what is known as the Big Breaks. She had already been sunk by 1954. How long she had been there, I don't know. Without a doubt, her remains are still there. They are indeed. Mystery solved. With every program, every field trip, every library chat we have with kids, we always ask the question, why are we doing this? I mean, who really cares? Why should we find out more about the Delta? And we get all kinds of great answers. You probably come up with some yourself. It's fun. It's just neat to know how we got to where we are now. Understanding and connecting to more stuff makes our brain a little bit stronger, more stories to tell at parties and such. But the answer we leave them with is the more you know about a place, the better you can take care of it. The more you know about a place, the better you can take care of it. When we need to truly understand a place, to provoke and connect us to that place, to give ourselves some context, some history, look to your community. Those local historians, those local museums, those local historical societies, they are the holders of the precious stuff that we really need to steward this place that we call the Delta. Thanks so much.